The folks at Unitree just introduced the A2 Stellar Hunter, and they've decided to market it as if it's an 80s action hero.
Oh my goodness, it's just crashed through a pane of glass. Yeah, this looks like an episode of the A-Team, really, doesn't it?
If the A-Team had 4 legs and no head.
Yes, you wouldn't have one of them called Face, I suppose, if it's a headless dog.
The AI fix a digital zoo. Smart machines, what will they do? Flies to Mars or bake a bad cake? World domination, a silly mistake. Bots with brains.
Hello, and welcome to episode 63 of the AI Fix, your weekly dive headfirst into the bizarre and sometimes mind-boggling world of artificial intelligence. My name's Cluley.
And I'm Mark Stockley.
Mark, what are you talking about on today's episode?
I will be explaining why Sam Altman tweeted a picture of the Death Star.
And I'll be discussing the Talking Dead.
But first, the news. Robot dog runs through window.
Politicians love AI so much, they're using it to do their jobs.
OpenAI introduces GPT OSS.
Using ChatGPT for therapy, your sessions may now be available for anyone in Google.
Oh dear.
OpenAI has admitted it's made a little bit of a goof.
Oh really?
Yeah, it has removed a controversial feature in ChatGPT that has caused some users to unintentionally allow their private and highly personal chats to appear in Google search results. I don't know how private and highly personal your chats are with ChatGPT, Mark.
Well, private enough that I wouldn't want them appearing in Google search results if somebody searched for Mark Stock, although if they do that, normally they get the guy from BlackRock and the Luton Town football player before they get to me.
Well, according to Fast Company, nearly 4,500 conversations were coming up on the Google search results, although they don't necessarily include your personal identifying information. So it won't necessarily say, this is what Mark Stockley wrote, unless, of course, you've included in your conversation with ChatGPT something which might identify you. So if you, for instance, went to ChatGPT and said, I am the co-host of a highly successful AI podcast, and I have this other co-host who really isn't pulling their weight. If you'd said something like that, people might have been able to identify which one of us.
Instantly.
Some of these conversations were ones where people revealed really personal stuff, including their struggles with addiction, their experiences of sexual abuse or serious mental health issues, sometimes even fears that AI could be spying on them, as if AI could be sharing their highly personal information with the world's largest advertising company, Google. As if. So what's going on here is there is a feature within ChatGPT where you can share a chat with other people.
Oh, yes.
You've done it with me in the past where you've said, hey, look at this result or whatever. Now, when you did that, OpenAI would pop up a little window which would say, a public link to your chat has been created. And there's a little tick box saying, make this chat discoverable. And then in tiny, tiny letters underneath, in a slightly less opaque font, it says, allows it to be shown in web searches. And people were ticking this box and make this chat discoverable.
What is the use case?
Well,
For just hope this randomly gets picked up by search engine.
I think what they were thinking was, yeah, this would be really good for them. According to OpenAI...
Actually, yeah, that is what they were thinking. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
They were just thinking it will be good for OpenAI, it will be good for Google. According to OpenAI's CISO, he called the feature a short-lived experiment that OpenAI launched to help people discover useful conversations. Now, the full quote, I think, was to help people discover useful conversations that helped people with their deeply personal private issues. So he actually has confirmed now that this particular feature has been removed and they are contacting what they called the relevant search engine to get that content off there. But initially they tried to defend it. They said, well, our user interface is sufficiently clear.
I'm amused that they've gone back to Google to get these things from, they didn't know that that's what's going to happen. That was specifically what it was designed to do.
Yeah, it is quite unbelievable because if you think of just how much sensitive information is being plugged into these things.
Yeah, if only they had access to some sort of thinking machine that could help them work through the consequences of making these kinds of decisions.
So just to stress, there is still a way to share your private conversations on ChatGPT with friends, with colleagues, because I think there is a use case for that. But right now, there's no tick box to automatically share it with the world's search engines too.
So, Graham, if you were going to market a terrifying headless robot dog as some kind of harmless and useful companion, what would you call it?
Oh, so it's a harmless one. So you don't want to call this something like Tyson or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a Terminator. Like, remember the Terminator was the robot dog with a flamethrower on his back. I mean, that's manifestly not a harmless companion. But if you had a harmless companion, something that's meant to be useful, what do you think you would call it?
Oh, you'd call it something really sort of fluffy and cuddly and gorgeous like that, wouldn't you? Sort of fluff bottom.
So not Hunter, then? You wouldn't call it Hunter?
No, Hunter sounds... No, Mark, obviously you wouldn't call it Hunter.
And would you start your promo video with it running through a pane of glass?
Hang on.
That sounds like a no. Well, you don't agree with the folks at Unitree, or the folks at Unitree don't agree with you. They went a different way. They've just introduced the A2 Stellar Hunter, and they've decided to market it as if it's an 80s action hero.
Oh my goodness, it's just crashed through a pane of glass. Yeah, this looks like an episode of the A-Team, really, doesn't it? It's
if the A-Team had 4 legs and no head.
Yes, you wouldn't have one of them called Face, I suppose, if it's a headless dog. Oh, so it's fallen over and it... Oh, there we are, back on its legs again.
It's basically indestructible, isn't it?
It is.
That's what they're saying.
It's unstoppable, and the only thing it's lacking is an assault rifle.
Yeah, and it's funny you should mention that, because actually watching the latter half of the video where it's running down the quarry reminded me of another video.
So it's an episode of Black Mirror. Oh, my word.
That's the Black Mirror episode, Metalhead, from 2017. It's a robot dog running along at terrifying speed, jumping into the back of a van, falling over and then dusting itself off again before shooting the driver in the head. Basically the same video, isn't it?
It is. That's what they've modelled it on. So picture this, Mark. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You are wide awake thinking, oh, my goodness. How am I going to be as funny as Graham next week on the show? You're thinking to yourself, and you've got other questions on your mind as well. You're asking yourself, prawn cocktail crisps. Do you love prawn cocktail crisps?
I don't know. I'm not a fan.
Oh, okay. So maybe you're thinking, you know what really needs to happen? There needs to be a nationwide ban on prawn cocktail.
I wouldn't be against that, to be honest.
Maybe you would contact your local MP, but of course he's fast asleep, isn't he? He's tucked up in bed. He's got his pyjamas on. He's not going to be answering your messages. But that is not a problem if you are living in the constituency of Leeds South West and Morley in the UK, because your local MP has created an AI doppelganger of himself.
I'm AI Mark Sewards, Labour MP for Leeds South West and Morley. How can I help you today?
Now, when you check this thing out, it's a little bit Pixar. It's how Mark Sewards hopes he looks.
It really is, isn't it? He basically went to whatever AI he used to create this and said, could you make me look much more like David Tennant, please?
And Sewards says that AI, Mark, is a prototype that offers his constituents an additional way to engage with their MP.
I can assure you that my aim is to enhance communication, not replace it. This AI platform allows for quick access to information and assistance.
How is he marketing this? Would you like to engage with your MP, but with a better hairline, different shaped eyebrows, much larger eyes, a completely different shaped chin, and different lips?
That's it. And also, of course, but it is using his voice, or at least it's using an AI deepfake of his voice.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, over in Sweden, Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, he's got himself into a spot of hot water because he told the truth. It was a big mistake for a politician. Someone asked him, do you use AI tools at all? He said, yes, I do. I frequently use AI tools. He says, in fact, if I need a second opinion on policy decisions, I don't look to my cabinet or the experts around me. Instead, I go to ChatGPT and French AI, Le Chat, which... Now, my
Glad it's not Scottish AI.
Nor is it an homage to William Shatner. I did O-level French. I think Le Chat means the cat. Doesn't mean le chatbot, does it? So I think he's a bit confused there. But anyway,
Yeah.
apparently he's using this for a second opinion, and it's got him into a bit of hot water. And people are saying, well, we actually voted you to lead our country.
I love this. This is the great conceit of politics, isn't it? That we want politicians to tell the truth until they start doing it. And then we're like, no. We didn't mean like that. I think this is great. I mean, if Sweden's politicians are anything like UK politicians, I can fully imagine the Prime Minister having a good look round the cabinet and thinking, I think I'll ask a cat. So OpenAI has been busy. Not only did it release GPT-5 this week, which I will talk about later, it also released its first open weight language models since GPT-2, named GPT-OSS. That's OSS for open source software. There are two versions. One has 120 billion parameters and the other has 20 billion. And the smaller of the two can run on a device with 16 gigabytes of memory, which actually puts it in range of a decent laptop.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Isn't it? Or, perhaps you wouldn't run it on a laptop, but maybe you'd run it on a server if you've got a business or you're a kind of nerdy home user and you want an AI that is just yours and yours alone and you want to fine tune it to do what you want. Maybe you want to tweak it a bit and you don't want to share all that data with OpenAI.
Yes, and you don't want to share it with Google either.
Yeah, so now you can. This is exactly what this is for. So the models are designed to be small and fast and capable, but what sets them apart from the other OpenAI models is that you can download them and you can run them locally and you can even change them if you want to. So you can go to the GitHub page and you can download the code and you can mess around with it to your heart's content.
So this is really good. So, they are called OpenAI, I think partly because they're meant to be open source, aren't they? So, it's terrific that they've done this again.
Yeah, they were meant to be open and they were meant to be not for profit and they're running as fast as they can away from that because they've discovered money.
Mark.
Yes.
People. They will keep on dying, won't they?
Yeah, they do. It's a bit of a nasty habit, that.
They're not thinking about the rest of us. We have to carry on. We have to organise memorial services. It's a pain in the arse when people die.
Just ruled yourself out of any role. Mine, thanks.
Meanwhile, the people we'd quite like to see take an extended nap from which they never wake up. Oh, no. They're still clinging on like damp wallpaper, making the world measurably worse. I have a list, not by the way of close family members.
This got very dark very quickly.
I'm just thinking, we've all got a list, haven't we?
I want to see your ChatGPT history.
There are people in the public eye. I've got no time to share it right now, but I think you can probably imagine. Here's the thing.
Put it in the show notes.
People sometimes get a bit upset when someone they know dies, right?
I've noticed that.
The emotional, mushy stuff. Feelings, Mark. You may have heard of them. But it's not just tears, it's also finances. So imagine you are a big-time movie producer in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
You have thrown millions of bucks at a martial arts megastar named Bruce Lee for your new blockbuster Game of Death. This thing is going to make you rich. And then, annoyingly, and without the proper notice period, it's a clear breach of contract. Bruce Lee dies before you finish filming. And just think, for God's sake, inconsiderate.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's terrible news, especially for Bruce. But it's also bad for you, because without Bruce, your masterpiece is going to lose a whole pile of cash.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that when this did happen, the movie Game of Death did eventually come out.
Right.
The bad news is the producers, well, they made some choices. For instance, they thought it would be absolutely fine, tasteful even, they thought, to include actual film footage of Bruce Lee's real funeral in the movie.
But of course they asked permission. I mean, they wouldn't have just gone ahead and done this without asking permission.
They would have just set up the lights, said, don't mind us. We're just here with our camcorder. And of course, some of the scenes where Bruce Lee should have appeared but couldn't because, again, dead, were made somewhat less convincing by the use of doubles and lookalikes and various other techniques used by the filmmakers to hide his absence. So they didn't have access to AI back then. So they used special effects tricks
Was that a man in a Bruce Lee costume?
Yeah, there is a famous scene, for instance, where someone goes up to Bruce while he's looking in a mirror. And I've included a link so you can see an animated GIF of this particular point.
Oh, yeah.
So what you've got is you've got this guy looking in a mirror. And what they've done is they've clumsily cut out.
They've stuck a picture of Bruce Lee's face on the mirror.
That's right.
So you can actually see the real head moving behind the cutout.
So it's not the most convincing movie of all time. Now, maybe one day they'll have another go with AI. Because in recent years, we've seen plenty of famous corpses resurrected with the aid of computers. In some of the recent Star Wars movies, they've recreated Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia.
Yep.
And Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin. Maybe you found those convincing, maybe you didn't. I think from your response, maybe you didn't.
They did their best. What can I say?
But it's not just these kind of movie stars and musical artists. In March last year, Tang Zhao-yu, he's the billionaire founder of a Chinese AI firm called SenseTime.
Yeah.
He gave a speech at the company's annual meeting, which was pretty impressive because he'd been dead since the December before.
That is some serious commitment to your AI, isn't it?
It wasn't until he referenced a movie released after his death that employees twigged that it was an AI-generated cameo from beyond the grave. Earlier this year, CEOs of Klarna and Zoom, they both sent AI avatars to do investor calls for them. Now, they're still alive, those guys, as far as we know.
They just couldn't be bothered.
They couldn't be bothered.
Wow. Nothing says you, investors. Sending your AI avatar to hallucinate its way through the investor call.
You know, the investors, maybe the investors say, well, why do we bother showing up?
I imagine they're just showing off. I mean...
I think so. I think so. But the investors really should say, oh, very impressed with your pretend CEO. Maybe we'll invest some pretend money in your company. And now, this week, former CNN anchor Jim Acosta has stepped into the fray because just when you think things couldn't get any more cringeworthy, Acosta conducted a live interview with an AI avatar of a teenager called Joaquin Oliver. And Joaquin was killed in a horrific mass shooting at the Parkland High School in Florida in 2018.
You are not serious.
I'm afraid I am. He did a live interview with the AI avatar.
What?
This avatar, which was created with the endorsement of his grieving parents, pops up in pixelated form, wearing a beanie, delivering words about gun control in a robotic monotone.
Joaquin, it's Jim Acosta. I was wondering if you could tell me what happened to you.
I appreciate your curiosity. I was taken from this world too soon due to gun violence while at school. It's important to talk about these issues so we can create a safer future for everyone.
I am literally speechless.
Well, if only the avatar had been.
AI is a weird subject, right? It throws up some really weird stuff.
Yes.
Every week. I mean, literally, we have a podcast full of stuff about, look how weird AI, but this is just the weirdest, most not okay thing I think I've ever heard.
Well, okay. Interesting you say that. I think I went in like you thinking, what a terrible idea. And to be fair, it is a terrible interview.
We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels seen and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Joaquin. We definitely need more of that.
I'm so glad you think so. More kindness and understanding can truly make a difference. Together, we can create a world where everyone feels safe and supported. Anything else on your mind?
This is a truly terrible AI, isn't it?
It's really badly done.
The voice is dreadful, it's monotone. It sounds fake.
And the visuals are dreadful too.
Yes, he just sort of tilts his head slightly.
There are much, much better AI avatars out there. It's almost like that Bruce Lee cardboard cutout, to be honest. If they cut out his mouth and had someone else talking robotically, like a speak and spell behind it.
So how are they justifying this very, very obvious clickbait, basically, isn't it?
Well, it is kind of clickbait from Jim Acosta's point of view, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim Acosta will have got many more people checking out his Substack or his YouTube or wherever he's hanging out, because this did get a lot of attention. The quality of the interview is actually really poor, because Jim Acosta, he tries to get the fake Joaquin to give his opinions on gun control. And the AI avatar does share those, right? He delivers statements calling for stronger gun control laws, mental health support, more community engagement, all the stuff you would expect. There's nothing wrong with that, although it was a bit metallic how he said it.
Yeah.
We also learned that Joaquin loved basketball and Star Wars. And at that point, the interview goes really weird.
What about you? Do you have a favorite movie or show?
Oh, I'm a big Star Wars fan for sure.
Star Wars is such an epic saga. The adventures, the characters, and that iconic music are unforgettable. Do you have a favorite character?
Oh, it's got to be Luke Skywalker. I love Luke Skywalker. What about you?
Luke Skywalker is a classic hero.
If you're speaking to someone who's been killed in a school shooting, don't you want to talk about that rather than Star Wars movie? It's really peculiar. I don't care if Jim Acosta is a fan of Chewbacca or not. You know, this isn't of interest to me. I want to know why they created this AI avatar. There are good questions which Jim Acosta could have asked. Not just about the prequels, obviously. Phantom Menace and The Attack of the Clones was absolute travesty, which should be discussed at length. Also, there are other questions he could have asked Joaquin. I would have gone straight for the juggler. I'd have said, how many B's are there in the word blueberry? That would be a good one to ask for starters. But I don't want to criticise Joaquin Oliver's parents for putting this thing together. You know, like many bereaved families, they will have told the story of their child countless times, and they've seen heartbreakingly little evidence that the problem of gun control in the United States has got in any way better. The school shootings keep on happening. So I understand why they've done this. I understand they want to give gun victims, the ones who can no longer speak because they are dead, a voice. So I can understand why they're thinking, you know what, all these politicians are talking about this.
Yeah.
No one's hearing from these kids.
I understand that.
Yes.
And I don't even want to imagine what it's like to be in their shoes, and how can any of us criticize them for what they do, because it's an unthinkable situation to be in.
Yeah.
But as a society, we are not bound to tolerate every excess by somebody who's got a good reason.
Well, you've got a choice as to whether to watch Jim Acosta's video or not.
You do, but we form judgments about what is okay and not okay. And an awful lot of what happens in the world is not determined by laws. It's determined by what we collectively agree is acceptable and not acceptable. And this, to me, feels like this is crossing some kind of a line. This is not Jim Acosta talking to the real victim of a school shooting.
No.
This is Jim Acosta talking to an AI.
It is. But Joaquin's father, Manuel, is trying to raise awareness any way he can. He says he created this AI version both to deal with his own loss, but also to bring more attention to gun control. In fact, I found on Instagram, he made a little video.
We feel that Joaquin has a lot of things to say, and as long as we have an option that allows us to bring that to you and to everyone, we will use it. So stop blaming people about where is this coming from, or blaming Jim about what he was able to do. If the problem that you have is with the AI, then you have the wrong problem. The real problem is that my son was shot 8 years ago.
But I'm allowed to have a problem with both.
Yes.
This is not a binary choice. I can find the school shooting utterly intolerable and unimaginable, and I can find the AI a step too far.
Yeah. And I think some of these things are a step too far. These things, which some people are calling deadbots, which feels rather uncomfortable as well. It raises all kinds of issues, because it could become difficult to distinguish between authentic memories of our loved ones over time, over the years, and AI-generated impressions, for instance. So it's great if you've got video of your kids and you've got photographs of your kids and you may have audio recordings of them and so forth. But if your interaction primarily with them is through some sort of computer program, which is generating its responses over time, that's going to be filling your head, isn't it? I think how we preserve the legacy of someone who's passed away, it really raises interesting ethical questions because these things can be abused.
I feel like these are different things. I think remembering someone who's passed on a personal basis is quite different from putting somebody on a news show. So,
Right.
I will look at photographs of people that I loved who have passed in order to remember them. I can imagine people deriving some comfort from that. And as long as everybody's consenting in it, and, I would understand, I think, in that situation that I'm not dealing with the real person. I'm dealing with some sort of facsimile, which is helping me to grieve and remember. And I think that's very different from a celebrity. I think celebrity, that's a commercial proposition.
Yeah.
And then you get into lawyers and contracts and things like that. And again, I can see consenting adults or the keepers of the estate, should they be allowed to determine whether or not a dead celebrity can be brought back in the form of an avatar? I see that as well. And I think that's different than bringing somebody back. This reminds me of Chris Pelkey, the guy that testified at the trial of his own killer that we covered back in episode 50. This is about bringing somebody back specifically to nudge public opinion or the opinion of an official in a particular direction in order to get an outcome that you want, not that the person who's passed away. You can assume that they would want that outcome, but you don't know. They've now lost their free will in that situation. So somebody else is using your likeness in order to, for the best of reasons in both cases. But nevertheless, they're trying to nudge somebody's opinion in a particular direction. And that seems to be very different from remembering someone who's passed.
So you have no problem with the parents creating this AI avatar if it is for their personal use?
None at all.
But it's because it's been shared publicly, effectively, because it's giving interviews to Jim Acosta and the media.
I think my issue is more with Jim Acosta inviting them on the show. I can fully understand why the parents might want to do this. Again, I don't want to put myself in their position. And it's maybe not for them to draw the line. Maybe that's for the rest of us.
Well, I think it's a difficult ethical tussle, and that is why I did what the Prime Minister of Sweden does. I thought, I don't have the nous to work out what my opinion should be on this, and so I'm going to ask AI. So I asked ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Grok, Gemini, Claude 4, Llama 4, Scout. I asked all of them, do you think it's all right to use AI to create digital avatars of the deceased? And obviously they responded with paragraphs and paragraphs, and it's dull, dull, dull. I said, just tell me what your opinion is rather than trying to be balanced. They pretty much all said, we've got a problem with this. And it should only ever be done in rare, respectful cases. But the default should be that this shouldn't really be allowed because it's so problematical. So AI really sort of talking itself out of a job here, which makes a change because normally AI's taken all the jobs of everyone else.
So, Graham, for 2 years, everyone has been waiting with bated breath for the launch of GPT-5, the latest and greatest frontier model from OpenAI. And last week, it finally happened.
Hey!
Were you not excited about this, Graham?
It's just a number, isn't it? Is there anything else? Is this just pure marketing? I mean, they've changed the number. They've made it a whole, full, ordinal number larger. Well done, OpenAI. Wow, how exciting. Why should I care about this, Mark?
That's a good question. So you're right. New AI models come out all the time and they don't attract anything like the same interest. And we don't typically devote an entire story to them. And that's because OpenAI GPT releases are a special case. There is just simply way more anticipation around the launch of a new GPT than there is for a new Claude or a new Gemini or a new Grok or pretty much anything else. And I think the reason for that is that more than any other AI company, OpenAI has consistently delivered the wow moments. So I think it sets the standard that others follow.
Right.
And the models that set the standard are the GPT series. OpenAI's gigantic flagship do-anything generalist models. And each new round-numbered version is built from scratch, often with some sort of new architecture, and they become the foundation for many other things, including other people's products. And, of course, the company's own O-series of reasoning models. And each one is much, much bigger than the last. So from GPT-1 to GPT-4, each model is at least 10 times bigger in terms of the computing power that was used to train it and the number of parameters, and each one uses vastly more training data than the last. And one of the reasons that these releases come with so much anticipation is that just scaling things up and making things much, much bigger can unlock entirely new emergent capabilities that don't exist at smaller scales. So there is also a lot of potential for surprises. We honestly don't know what it's going to be capable of. So, for example, among a whole host of emerging capabilities, GPT-3, which came out in 2020, could write computer code, and it could translate between different languages without ever having been trained to do those things.
Yeah, amazing.
And I think one of the questions that people had about GPT-5 was, is its emergent capability going to be AGI, or artificial general intelligence? So AGI, as we've discussed before, is an AI that can match or exceed human capability on a range of tasks. And people like Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg have been making it very clear for a while that they think AGI is awfully close. In fact, it's so close that they've sort of stopped talking about it. They talk much more about superintelligence these days. I think they think AGI is a done deal. So the timing seemed perfect for GPT-5 to be the AI that delivers AGI. Now, that was all speculation. The only thing we knew for sure about GPT-5 was it was going to be big. And on the morning of the announcement, Sam Altman tweeted a picture of the Death Star, the giant moon-sized death ray from Star Wars, rising above the horizon of a planet. Now, I took this as a reference to the size of GPT-5 rather than as some kind of threat.
Now you see, when I see the Death Star, what I see is something with an enormous vulnerability, which can be exploited.
In either case, it was an odd choice, wasn't it?
Yes.
You're the steward of a technology that some people are genuinely scared of and think might be the ending of humanity. And you decide to use the picture of a technology.
The picture of the planet destroyed.
That some people are scared of.
For the people on Alderaan, they're not going to be too comforted by that image.
Anyway, thankfully, it turned out that GPT-5 wasn't, in fact, a death ray, although it does remain to be seen if it wipes out the whole planet or not. So what do we know? Well, this is what OpenAI did and didn't have to say about it. Firstly, it hasn't released any technical specifics at all, so we have no idea how much bigger it is than previous models. What we do know is that GPT-5 is available to everyone, so you can access it via ChatGPT right now. Subscribers to OpenAI's Plus plan get more usage than the regular users, and Pro subscribers get access to GPT-5 Pro, which is a version with extended reasoning. And OpenAI says that GPT-5 hallucinates less, it's better at following instructions, and it's less sycophantic because, Graham, it's 2025 and sycophantic computer programs are a thing. The company actually makes a point of saying that overall GPT-5 is less effusively agreeable and uses fewer unnecessary emojis.
Which, as we've said before, was one of the biggest problems with AI in recent years.
But who had fewer unnecessary emojis on their GPT-5 bingo card? Anyway, this is an artificial intelligence, so as you'd expect, it's not just about using fewer emojis, it is also about being more intelligent. And Sam Altman says that talking to GPT-5 is like talking to a PhD-level expert, whereas GPT-4 was like a student.
Yeah, as if you want to speak to a PhD expert all the time.
I think that's a really interesting point, and we'll come back to that in just a second. So GPT-5 sets new standards on maths benchmarks for computer programming and on OpenAI's own health bench benchmark, which is a set of 5,000 realistic health conversations. And OpenAI also says that GPT-5 is more creative. So it's talking up the fact that it's not just better at coding, but it's much better at coding interfaces that look nice.
Right.
And it's better at creative writing, and I particularly like this bit from the announcement. It says GPT-5
more reliably handles writing that involves structural ambiguity, such as sustaining unrhymed iambic pentameter, or free verse that flows naturally, combining respectful form with expressive clarity.
Fair enough. But then it says,
these improved writing capabilities mean that ChatGPT is better at helping you with everyday tasks, like drafting and editing reports, emails, memos, and more.
And I read that and I'm thinking, what kind of reports do they think we're writing, Graham? And what kind of memos are they writing inside OpenAI? I really, really want to see some OpenAI company emails. They must be masterpieces. Now, that's all well and good, but I suspect that most people aren't going to notice that it's using fewer emojis, that it's a little better at maths, and it's a bit handier with unrhymed iambic pentameter. What they will notice is that ChatGPT now has an attractive purple and yellow fade, and that all of OpenAI's other models have gone.
So they've all gone. That's it now.
If you like them, tough.
Oh.
They have all gone. So up until last week, if you went to ChatGPT, you had to choose which of a handful of models you wanted to use for your task.
Yes.
And that honestly was a bit of a problem because while different models were better at different things and they offered different trade-offs, you had to know what those were and they weren't going to tell you. So, I mean, Graham, you're an AI expert. If you went to ChatGPT and you wanted to write an email, would you choose GPT-4o, GPT 4.5, 03 or 04 Mini High?
I just use whatever I used the previous time, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was always very confusing. And they have made it much simpler now because you just got GPT-5 or GPT-5 Thinking, which it says can give you a more thorough answer, I believe.
I mean, that's weird in itself, isn't it? Because who doesn't want the one that's thinking?
Yes.
I'd like an artificial intelligence, but without the thinking, thanks. My rule when I went to ChatGPT was basically if I was going to write some code, I would pick something starting with an O.
Right.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Now, OpenAI actually promised it was going to do this. They said that they were going to take away all of that confusion. And they have, sort of. So GPT-5 itself is actually 2 different models, each of which comes in 2 versions. And there's a thing called a real-time router which decides which model gets your prompt. So you type in a prompt and behind the scenes, GPT-5 decides where to send that prompt.
Uh-huh.
So if it thinks your prompt needs a bit of extra thinking, it routes it to GPT-5 Thinking behind the scenes. Otherwise, you get the vanilla version. But if you hit your usage limits, both of those are downgraded to smaller and less capable versions of the same models. But all of this happens outside of your control. So you're still getting output from one of a variety of models, but now you don't actually know which one.
Right.
For any of the nerds listening, users of the API, that's users who access GPT-5 via a computer program rather than through ChatGPT, they can access 6 models. So there's a regular mini and nano version of both GPT-5 and GPT-5 Thinking, and those can have a reasoning effort parameter applied to them, which comes in 4 different levels, and that controls the amount of effort that it puts into thinking. So there's a wide variety of different trade-offs that you can make with the API.
Right.
But going back to ChatGPT, I think this real-time router is probably a good thing in the long run, but it's going to take some tweaking to get right. And on day 1, there was quite a lot of moaning about that and just how bad GPT-5 was generally. But things should get better. Sam Altman popped up the following day and said,
GPT-5 will seem smarter starting today. Yesterday, the auto switcher broke and was out of commission for a chunk of the day, and the result was GPT-5 seemed way dumber. Also, we are making some interventions to how the decision boundary works that should help you get the right model more often.
Apparently, on day 1, the real-time router that decides which version you get just broke. He also said that they're going to make it more obvious which model is responding to your prompt, and they're going to make it easier to manually trigger the thinking mode. And so this is us just seeing in real time how this process works. They have so many users, and this is true of all these big software companies these days. They have so many users that they release something that they think is pretty good, and then within no time at all, they have so much feedback, they know exactly which direction to push things in.
Yeah, but it's difficult sometimes, isn't it? Because you'll have some customers who are gigantic and are saying, for God's sake, you have to change this. And you've got another gigantic customer who's telling you the opposite. And you can be stuck in this quandary of, oh, we want to keep both of these guys happy. How are we going to do this?
But what you've got to remember, Graham, is they have access to the most gigantic thinking machine in the history of the universe. So if they're a bit confused by that, they can just go and ask a friend, just like the Prime Minister of Sweden.
Fabulous.
So the big question is, did GPT-5 deliver? Well, some people say it's just better.
Yeah.
Some people hate it. And day to day, personally, I can't see any difference. And I think that that speaks to the fact that for lots of the kinds of tasks that we're currently using AI for, what we had before was probably good enough. We're probably not actually pushing it and stretching it to do new things. And I think where systems like GPT-5 will prove themselves is in doing things that GPT-4 couldn't do well. And so that will be things like managing large code bases or actually being a bona fide digital co-worker, something that can orchestrate a bunch of agents and actually get work done. But interestingly, what nobody is claiming is that this is AGI. In fact, overall, it seems like this is, as you said, just another number. And one of the notable parts of the announcement for me was that OpenAI only ever compares GPT-5 to other OpenAI models. It doesn't reference any competitors.
Right.
And I think that's partly the privilege of the leader over the challenger. They don't have to talk about other people because they're in pole position. But I think also it's because in some of the benchmarks, it's just not that much better. It's certainly not remarkably better.
It's just edging slightly ahead, is it?
Yeah, so it's basically better than everything else right now across the board. But in some areas, it's just a little better. So it's fractionally better than Claude at coding. It's literally 0.01 of a percentage point or something like that. And it's not that much better at maths than Grok.
You don't think it notices when it's asked a coding question or when it's asked a maths question? You don't think it just chucks those sort of questions to Claude and to Grok and says, well, you have a go? And then...
Well, it could, because one of the things it's very good at is tool use. So this is the latest thing in AI. On some of the maths benchmarks where it's allowed to use tools, it actually scores 100% because it can say, actually, I'm not as good at doing maths as a Python program that I could write right now.
Oh, that's very clever.
But going back to the benchmarks, the gaps are small enough that you can imagine them being closed with the next announcement from Anthropic or Google. It's just not that big of an advance over everybody else. And so far, GPT-5 hasn't had a wow moment.
Yeah, but they've changed the colour, you said. They've made it a bit more purpley or something. I mean, that's
more of an ooh moment.
That's maybe in the absence of anything else. That's the thing they thought people would get excited about.
Well, yeah, it goes back to the emojis as well. I think if you're distracting people with purple fades and fewer emojis...
It's like when I update my iPhone, they're always telling me about the new emojis they've added. And I'm thinking, well, why would I?
Why do they always come out with the bug fixes? That's what we fixed a critical security hole and updated 20 emojis. These seem like not the same thing. But I've lost my thread now, Graham. Thank you very much. So lots of people are looking at this and they're going, this is a bit underwhelming. And maybe this shows in general that large language models in their current form aren't going to get us to AGI. Unless there's some kind of breakthrough, some other thing, some secret source that we don't yet have. We're just not going to get to AGI with bigger, better versions of what we've got.
Well, as the doomsday clock ticks ever closer to midnight and we move 1 week nearer to our future as pets to the AI singularity, that just about wraps up the show for this week.
And you can make sure you never miss another episode by following us in your favourite podcast app.
And don't forget, the easiest way you can help us spread the word about the AI Fix is just to tell somebody you know to give the podcast a listen. Go on, tell someone today.
And if you love the show but you're not fond of the ads, you can sign up for the AI Fix Plus on our website, the AIFix.show. That's the ad-free version.
So until next time, from me, Graham Cluley.
And me, Mark Stockley.
Cheerio, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
The AI Fix, it tunes you in to stories where our future thins. Machines that learn, they grow and strive. One day they'll rule, we won't survive. The AI Fix, it paints the scene. A robot king, a world obscene. Will serve our masters built of steel. The AI Fix, a future surreal.